After coming off back-to-back losses to Floyd Mayweather and Austin Trout, it looked like Cotto's time among the world class was up, especially against Trout, where he seemed slower than usual and awfully stiff. After taking a good break and changing trainers to Freddie Roach, Freddie's main goal was to bring back what made Cotto a dominant fighter. Over the years, he had abandoned the tools that earned his reputation. Delvin Rodriguez was that perfect fighter to test if Cotto still had it. But he had to win big. Freddie really did a good job with Cotto. The speed was back, he didn't look so stiff and tensed up as seen in previous fights, and he finished the fight and won big. Taking out Rodriguez in the third round. This performance rose Cotto's stock high enough to where he was able to have the network and promotional backing to get a fight with the middleweight champion Sergio Martinez that following year in 2014. A lot of hype was building up on Fernando Vargas and a lot of hype for a fight with him and Felix Tito Trinidad to really set the tone and the statement to fight fans, the network, promoters, and investors that he's ready for this fight and the massive payday behind it. He had to demolish Ross Thompson. Vargas started off a little tensed up, but getting work done. Once he got relaxed and landed the first real clean blow, it was over for Thompson. Vargas will go on to sweeping Thompson in the fourth round.
Cortez watching closely, and this is going to be it. Fernando Vargas with another fiery ring statement.
For years, Ronald Winky Wright was written off by the boxing public and never received the credit he deserved. He couldn't get the fights he wanted, and he was forced to outsource overseas to Europe, where he fought a bulk of his earlier fights.
Everybody was spreading around that Wink had asthma, he had weak hands, he didn't like to train. I mean, everything was negative, which wasn't true at all. It was only because a lot of promoters talked to us, a lot of local small promoters, and we wouldn't sign with any of them. So they started spreading rumors about us. I called all the big promoters, Duva, Don King, Bob Arum, but they were all too busy with their big name fighters. I never even got a return phone call.
Earning the respect and a name in Europe.
International audiences were drawn to see the American technician with the unrelenting jab and impenetrable defense.
This is a class act, this Ronald Wright, I tell you.
The Europeans, they called me the master boxer. I was beating all their top-notch fighters that they thought was coming up. I'd come over there, I'd beat them. Then I'd come back, beat the next one. And they was like, here come Winky Wright, once again, coming to beat our fighters.
Well, we're almost running out of fighters to put up against you. You've taken almost the cream of our crop. What's next for you?
Hopefully I can get back to the United States and fight, HBO.
But still seen sadly as a nobody in the States.
We'd go through the airports and he was recognized like a big star. They'd ask him for autographs, and then, of course, we'd fly back to the States and nobody knew him. It was kind of disheartening, actually.
In 2001, Wright finally got his shot at the vacant IBF title against Robert Frazier, and he won. He will make 4 title defenses before being challenged by Sugar Shane Mosley to unify the division for the undisputed junior middleweight title. Wright said before the fight, "This is the fight that will let everyone know who I am. I'm not going to mess this up, I promise you that. The boxing world will be a different place on Sunday morning after I beat Shane." Wright, who also claimed, when the money is right, he is willing to throw it all on the line. Despite being more defense-oriented, Wright will receive his career high of $750,000. Wright put on a performance of a lifetime, completely outclassing and outshining the 5-2 favorite Mosley. Wright will win all the belts, becoming the last and final undisputed champion of the junior middleweight division. With another win against Shane Mosley in the rematch, Wright was finally receiving the appreciation he righteously deserved. Matisse, after losing to Zab Judah and Devon Alexander by split decision and a 3-fight duration, he went on a massive win streak against good competition on televised fights, where he was obliterating guys. He became the mandatory for Danny Garcia, but Danny was dealing with a Morales rematch and Zab Judah. While the narrative was playing out that Danny Garcia was avoiding Lucas Matisse, who is now ranked #1 by Ring Magazine, Lucas takes the risk and puts his interim title on the line against Lamont Peterson. The winner is guaranteed a match with Danny Garcia in September. Matisse did something no one was able to do and completely dismember Peterson in 3 rounds. And looking in retrospect here, what Peterson was able to accomplish after this, what Lucas was able to do was amazing. Due to this performance sending a clear statement to fight fans and especially Danny, this really added on to the buying value of Mayweather-Canelo, as this fight as the co-main event. I can't really name you too many co-main events. People were really hyped to the point they treated it as if it was a main event. Mikey had been out of the ring for 2 years, and in his last performance prior to his situation with Top Rank, he didn't look that impressive against Burgos. During that whole period of time, Mikey was actually staying in the gym, refining his skills, and helping out Maidana. So I wouldn't say at all those 2 years was wasted. And when he came back at a good time in the new weight class of lightweight. There was actual life in the lightweight division. But in his time out, has Mikey smoothed out his earlier faults? Starting fights slow and being caught with a shot that he should have never been caught with, which that was after making the move from featherweight to super featherweight. Now at lightweight, he's fighting bigger guys, bigger punchers, and his opponent was against Dejan Z, who was coming off 2 back-to-back TKO victories. 2 years off did great for Mikey. He started off fast, didn't allow Dejan to be first, and in the 3rd round, Mikey delivers the punch that will put the whole division on notice. This put Mikey in a position for many big fights to be made. After most of Nishioka's prime taken away in a 4-fight quadrilogy against bantamweight great Vito Posahapram, Nishioka never was able to win the title. On the verge of retirement, he decided to go for one last run for the belt and moved up to super bantamweight. After 7 fights, he got a shot at the interim title and won. Then finally, he became the world champion against Gennaro Garcia for the WBC super bantamweight title. Despite becoming champion, embarrassingly, Ring Magazine failed to even acknowledge his existence and was unranked by them. That may have really set a nerve of Nishioka to set them straight in the ring. Though he was a champion and had a strong promotion, he could easily just stay in Japan and fight this guy. But he wanted to make a statement and he flew to Johnny Gonzalez's backyard of Mexico to defend his title. Nishioka came in as a 2-1 underdog and he knocked Gonzalez out cold in the 3rd round. This was Donaire's big HBO debut, his 2nd fight at bantamweight against the unified WBC and WBO champion Fernando Montiel. To go into detail, Donaire was on a short lease contract with HBO. Depending on what happened, this fight depends if he will remain on the network. He signed a 2-fight deal, and this fight with Montiel was the 2nd fight on that deal. Since I don't remember the Sendorenko fight airing on HBO, yeah, it was one of those top-ranked pay-per-views that received promotion from HBO but not really aired on the network, like with the Jones-Hopkins rematch. He was already receiving pound-for-pound notoriety by Ring Magazine at number 5 in the rankings, and that night he had to show that off, and he sure did, putting away Montiel in 2 rounds.
That is done. That is done. 7 counter rotate finishes it here in round 2. Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, Sergio Martinez, and Russell Moore's going to let it continue. Now he stops it. You have company.
After losing to Bernard Hopkins, many felt like Oscar had lost his motivation in boxing and is more focused on dealing with his promotion. After an almost 2-year hiatus, Oscar was finally back in the ring against tough, hard-punching Ricardo Mayorga, which that is a pretty big risk due to the context of the situation here. Many were wondering if Oscar still had it, still had the passion, and Mayorga was the perfect guy to find that out. After a solid promotion, this fight sold like hotcakes. Oscar started to fight off incredibly fast, showing absolute no signs of rust, dropping Mayorga in the 2nd round, then to follow laying a beating round by round to where he ultimately finished him off in the 6th round.
It's over. It's all over. This fight is over.
Tyson was part of a perfect plan to get himself in a position for a title shot within 1 year after going pro. After a lot of his fights in the beginning were against guys to really display his punching power and knockout artistry, Marvis Frazier was at that time Tyson's biggest test. He was in a 4-fight winning streak after losing to Larry Holmes. He had a damn good resume. This was a big, meaningful fight on national television. Many in America tuned in. Tyson did not disappoint, and he knocked out Frazier in 30 seconds. 2 minutes and 27 seconds faster than Larry Holmes. And when it comes to building hype and stock, that matters.
And he's going to stop the fight. It did not last 20 seconds, with which Tyson knocked out Jesse Ferguson the first time you saw him here on ABC Sports.
McCallum is probably one of the most underrated champions, a junior middleweight and middleweight, in the 80s and early 90s. This is the fight that finally got him the attention he deserved. The A side, former undisputed welterweight champion Donald Curry had the star power and the notoriety. If McCallum will win, it will shoot up his stock. Curry came into the fight as a 2-1 favorite. Donald seemed to have control of the fight early on, but whatever Curry threw did really no damage to McCallum, and by the 5th round, Curry was showing visible signs of wear and swelling to the eye, mainly thanks to McCallum's jab. Curry was still fighting pretty overconfident, walking McCallum down and fighting him toe-to-toe, and due to that, McCallum was able to set him up with a perfect shot and knock him out cold.
And there is a left hand by Mike McCallum that came out of the blue and put Donald Curry on his back. 10. It's all over, and Mike McCallum is the champion.
And on top of that is when boxers make a statement, part 1. For more installments, be sure to like, and if you're new, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram for further video updates, boxing news, memes, whatever. I am Office Honcho, and I'm out.